General Jack Keane. He is a retired four-star general, also chairman of the Institute for the Study of War and Fox News senior strategic analyst. That is the big question, General. We keep hearing the administration and others involved saying don't give up on diplomacy, but is there a chance it might still work?
Well, I think it's pretty remote at this point. I mean, the senior government officials are privately saying that Russia is going to attack, that the off-ramp for diplomacy, the only way that could possibly happen at this point is just because Putin decides to do that. But people don't see the evidence that that's going to take place, largely because of what he is doing with the disposition and employment of his forces. We have exquisite intelligence on what has taken place out here. Tracking what an army does on a battlefield, Charles, is quite easy to do for a technology-based intelligence capability that the United States has. And we're tracking that. We're not only taking pictures of it, but we're listening to their operational nets, their tactical nets, etc. So we got a sense of what they're doing. And if they move out of those administrative motor parks that we've been taking commercial satellite photos of and begin to move into assembly areas where they get upgunned and they get gassed, and then they move into attack positions, that's telling you something. And clearly we are monitoring all of that activity. To that point, General, I heard reports that now the manpower, the Russian manpower, up to 190,000. And to put it in perspective, this is the largest assembly of a military force since World War II. I mean, this is major. For people who really aren't paying attention, this is potentially a major military showdown. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. And literally, warfare has changed, Charles, dramatically since World War II. I mean, we had about 157,000 in the Normandy invasion, but we had 7,000 ships out there with landing craft and about 3,000 aircraft. And in the 2003 invasion in Iraq, we had about 177,000 as an invasion force with air supporting it. What we have here, certainly, is a ground force somewhere in the neighborhood of 170,000, 180,000 plus. But the precision nature of the weapons we're using and the standoff capabilities they have dramatically changed since World War II. So in the pre-assault fires phase that would come before the ground invasion, Russia will attack with air, missiles, and rocket artillery. Those missiles can travel actually thousands of miles with an extraordinary accuracy landing on the target. And those missiles will be cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. He's got bombers and fighter aircraft, just like we in the United States have, that have enormous standoff capability to deliver very accurate fires. While the tanks and other vehicles are very similar to what we had in World War II, even those vehicles, those tank munitions, they can fire out thousands of meters versus hundreds of meters. So warfare has changed. It's significantly more lethal than what it has ever been. And it's considerably more precise in the use of the weapons, and many of them are standoff weapons themselves. That brings us to the Ukrainians being able to defend themselves. I've heard you on this air applauding the Biden administration for the actions that they've taken. Many thought initially perhaps they were slow to get the Ukrainian military some defense weapons. How long or could they potentially hold off this advanced Russian army that you just described? Yeah, not very long. I mean, they are absolutely outmatched. They have significant resolve and will. And we saw what happened in Afghanistan with an army that lost its resolve and will. So they will fight. But listen, they have no defense at all against any of Russia's missiles. Think of that. Wow. That's quite extraordinary. They have hardly any defense against all of Russia's 500 combat aircraft that they have. They just got recently some Stinger shoulder-fired air defense systems from the Baltics. They wanted these air defense missiles and air defense systems and anti-ship systems years ago from the United States. They certainly wanted it back in March when the Russians came on their border with 70,000 troops. We gave them none of that. We gave them some anti-tank weapons and some small arms. So here, my frustration has been this all along. I understand we're not going to put U.S. troops on the ground to fight with the Ukrainians because they're not a NATO country. But we also said, but we're going to help them defend themselves. And that's what the Ukrainians want. They didn't want our troops on the ground. But if that's the mission, then why didn't we go all in and give them all of those capabilities that where they, it would not be a fair fight, but where they could impose some cost on the Russians and cause them to think a little bit, well, wait a second here. These casualties are going to go up significantly. We're going to lose aircraft. We have the potential to lose ships, et cetera. And Putin doesn't want a lot of casualties in this campaign. He's expecting this to go quickly and not take a lot of casualties home to the Russian people.
General, real quick, this nuclear exercise that was moved up, what's the purpose of that? Is this an intimidation tactic?
Yeah, pretty much, Charles. I mean, this is normally done in October. It's done every year. They're just exercising their strategic nuclear forces. He moved it to this date for obvious reasons. Beijing Olympics closed. This the day after. He's going to be in the National Military Command Center at the time with Lukashenko. I'm not saying the attack begins tomorrow, but he's in a perfect place to do it.
Right.
And I don't know why the president of Ukraine is even thinking that he would leave the country while we're in this invasion window, because if Putin invades, the first thing he does is take control of the airspace, Charles.
Yeah.
That's just basic 101. And Zelensky never be able to get back in.
General Keane, please stand by. And great information. I want to come back to you. But General Keane, of course, not the only one concerned. NATO allies also